Welcome to Gravel Nationals 2024. This is a race in Gering, Nebraska. Last year, I broke my collarbone, but wanted to come back, give it another try. Thank you, USA Cycling, for hooking me up with that. This is the course. It is 131 miles, and it is a lot of farm roads, a lot of unmaintained roads, obviously, or slightly maintained roads. They're gravel roads. Most of this is gravel. Again, it is in Nebraska, and it is a long day. Expecting like 7-ish hours on the bike, worst case scenario. 50 starters here, plenty of dudes. You can see the only other guy in red bibs up there, Drew Dillman. Chatted with him a little bit about going in the early break. Chatted with Chase Work at the beginning. Gave me flack for not having a GoPro, but we have a 360 cam. 30-ish minutes into the race here, and there are attacks starting to go. See Steven Schaefer there on the left. Plenty of other guys would just start sending it off the front throughout this race. We had Chase Work going for early breaks, Michael Garrison going for early breaks, Colby Simmons also went. You can see Drew Dillman there on the right sending it, trying to make it into a break too. There is some elevation gain. It's like 5,500 feet of elevation gain over this 131 miles. It's all really gradual, but you feel like you're not going anywhere when you're going uphill on gravel. You see the Bear National team here, almost on the front, trying to decide whether or not they want to start pulling stuff back in. And they did pace it on the front a little bit, but I think their guys were starting to crack. The first part of this race was incredibly difficult. I did like over 600 watts for a minute at one point during this, likely when, Keegan Swenson sent it on an uphill in which we actually pulled back Dillman there from a move. A little bit after that, like 35 miles in, there was a move that actually stuck, but right here in the beginning, we're only 30, 40 minutes in, and little moves are going off the front. You can see Chase Work on the right there, sending it up this slight rise up the hill there. Gullickson, I think, also trying to send it. And I am just hiding as much as possible. I've been training for cross, so don't know how the legs are going to feel once we get over 2 hours into this race. Been doing a little endurance riding, but nothing to the level of 6 hours, so really trying to save my matches. Keegan Swenson, defending champ on the right there. He's playing it chill as well. Tobin Ortenblad made it into the early move, so he was able to just sit on that move, cover and kill it, and then everybody else was left to respond to Keegan's bridge attempt at a certain point. You can see me sag climbing a good bit here, knowing there are plenty of guys that are all going to willingly blow their race, just following the wheels early on, and it hurt, and I didn't want to do that. Some sandy turns here in the earlier part of this race, about 25, 30 miles in, and all of a sudden we hit this very less maintained road, super bumpy. This is actually the road I broke my collarbone on last year. Hit one of these pretty deep sandy sections, and I remember looking at it and thanking the Lord that I made it past that. And then shortly after that, got a flat tire, so had to pump that thing up. I forgot to buy CO2s, so there I was with the hand pump, losing time, lost about 10 minutes, got back on the bike after a plug and a pump, and was riding solo for a while, just trying to tack back groups. Eventually got to Andy Serrano, Bear National guy, and two other riders, one from United and another guy in a purple kit. I am spacing on both of their names. But we rode together for a long time until we started noticing people were cracking. So Andy and I sent it up a slight rise, about 50-ish miles in, I would say, 50 miles in. And then we ended up catching Brock Mason, who had cut the course and did not want to continue. He did not like how slow gravel feels and how hard you have to go to still go that slow. So he decided he was going to quit, but Andy here was convincing him to keep going, maybe give us a little speed until we got to the 90-mile aid station where he could catch a ride back home. And Then I got offered a Coke, so I was like, heck yeah, I'll take a Coke. We got past a few aid stations, just riding on these straight gravel roads where you can see forever. Kept riding with these guys, kept pulling stuff back. Eventually, we caught Drew Dillman here, who mentioned to me that our early move idea did not work, and I wholeheartedly agreed that our early move idea did not work for either one of us. I think his legs were feeling a little flat, but catching some groups on the road. Every group we saw, we were hoping it would be the black numbers, the long course, the pro race, but it would often be blue numbers, which meant a different race than ours. Once we got to this aid station, I waited a little for Andy, and then I was like, all right, let's go. He was drinking a Coke. I thought he was going to take it with him. And then I just like slow rolled out of there and looked back, and Andy had not even started. I thought he had quit the race with Brock. So I just continued on my own and like kept the pace high, caught a bunch of groups, ended up solo riding for the last 40 miles, like looking up the road, trying to catch groups, not knowing who it was or what race they were in. Eventually, at the little loop that we had on for the 131, some sandy sections, trying to keep it safe, riding on my own, riding kind of bonked, a little tired, ran out of water, catching some other groups that were racing still. It's a women's group here, trying to pass them without ruining their race here. But there were some weird, technical sections at the end. I heard up at the front, things were like splitting apart and coming back together. It was like a group of 12, and up there at the front, a big group came into the finish, like almost 10 guys into the sprint, and Brennan Wirtz actually sent it. We'll talk about how he won, but he sent it like 2K from the finish and was able to hold him off just by the end. Here at the end here for me, trying to pull back groups, just seeing stragglers, going as hard as I can. I saw somebody back behind me. Turned out it was Andy, and we probably should have just worked together the whole time. I did not know he had started. Took that corner a little wide, had to weave some cones, and got back onto pavement, which felt great, and just motored into the finish with whatever I had left, hoping not to get caught. But I did not get caught. I think I ended up finishing pretty well, considering 30 miles in, I had yet another incident. Luckily, I didn't have to go to the hospital this time, so that was great. Didn't need any more titanium in my body. Catching guys through the finish, really hoping they were my race, but they were all very much so glad that I was not in their race once I came past them, going as hard as I possibly could into the finish. And they told me that. There was one guy who was like, thank God you're not in my race. I was like, yeah, me too. I wish I could have caught some guys here, but now we're on pavement. I am comfortable here. Took this last corner, likely where the sprint started. I think Keegan actually took the last corner on the front, but I think he had done a lot of work, so he ended up not taking the sprint. The results were such that Brendan Wirtz got first with his solo takeoff, and then that sprint behind saw John Borselman take second, and then Colby Simmons in third, followed by Russell, Griffin, and Keegan. I was down there in like 26th place, almost half an hour behind. Finished up. Happy to be done with that. On to cycling. Thanks for watching. See ya.